The views, opinions and information shared during the Youth Services podcast series belong solely to the individuals involved. Any recommendations or advice given during the podcast is general in nature and does not replace the need to seek professional advice where necessary. If you are in need of urgent assistance, please call 000 or the Kids Helpline on 1800 55 1800.
The City of Casey proudly acknowledges the traditional owners, Casey's Aboriginal communities and their rich culture, and pays respect to their elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first peoples and as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. I would also like to acknowledge that we are recording this podcast today gratefully on Bunurong country. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the Casey Youth Services podcast. We are your hosts. I am Taryn Higa and I'm a youth worker here at the City of Casey.
And I'm Jim and I'm also a youth worker here at the City of Casey.
Today we are joined by Young Parents Education Programs Manager Mary Tresize Brown, who is a keen advocate for young parents. Welcome Mary and thank you for being here today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So for those of you who are not aware, the Young Parents Education Program, also known as YPEP, offers pregnant teens and young parents the opportunity to complete their education in a flexible learning environment where they're able to bring their babies to class with them, and a fully qualified childcare support worker will be on site during the class to assist their care, which is awesome. We will talk a little bit more about this awesome program shortly, but firstly, we like to start with a bit of a light-hearted icebreaker question for both us and our audience. So the question is, if you could be in any movie, what would it be and why?
That's a hard question.
It is.
It's a very hard question. It's like asking, what's your favourite song?
Yes.
Yep.
And I have lots. And I talked to my husband about this last night. We were laughing about all the different kinds of movies that I could potentially be in. So, but I think probably not a movie, but a TV series called, Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
I think I want to be Twyla in that show. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't
Just
watched
observing, watching everybody in that cafe and...
Oh yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
She's a really, it's the best show.
I hear it's super funny.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It's hilarious and quirky and gorgeous and it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll have to give it a listen. I would be in Willy, Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I think as a kid and even as an adult, I really love chocolate.
Yeah.
So that would be, that was always my dream.
What about you, Jim?
Oh gosh, I haven't actually thought about this at all.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, I've been listening to some good movie podcasts lately and I think I'd want to be in something like Point Break. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
So I can just do some cool stuff and...
Top Gun.
Yeah, any sort of action film. Yeah. Terminator 2 would be a good one.
Yeah.
Just the classics from like the 90s.
Yeah.
I'll have to add them to my list.
Yeah, definitely.
So Mary, could you tell us a little bit about your role?
So I've been developing this program for 6 years, and so my background is in learning and development with young people broadly for the last 26 years. There's a real need here in this southeast region, so City of Casey, Dandenong, Cardinia.
Yeah.
When I first came to work at the LEN, I came from Monash University and I worked in the Faculty of Education there. And we were approached by some programs that were operating very short term and they were seeking our help with what could they do. Previous to working here, I have developed a program for parents of young people. So I've worked extensively with parents for a number of years and then was invited by the minister at the time to join an advisory group really championing parents.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my kind of advocacy comes from, is about supporting people that maybe don't necessarily have a strong voice and the opportunity to create something and that was sustainable, given that these programs had sort of already existed. It was really about looking at how do we create something that meets their needs, so the needs of young parents, and how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again, that it comes to the end of the funding and then they're going to stop.
Yes.
So brought together a group of stakeholders from across the region that work in education and early childhood development and with young people and across all of the support services, basically. And that group still guides how we develop and operate the Young Parents Education Program. They're really instrumental partners. And we partner to do this.
Yes.
So it's a great model as well because we're working in a collaborative way to make sure that what we offer is still meeting the needs of the community. So when I first started looking at this, the census data from 2011, which was the most recent data we had, told us that there were 700 young parents across this region that didn't have year 12 or year 11.
Yeah, wow.
So anyone aged between 13 and 21 with one or more children was 700. That's a lot. Then in 2016, the census data came out and it had increased to 1,110. So a jump of 400
And I'm
young
sure
people.
some were missed in the census as well.
There always is
Yeah.
that allowance that you have to make, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there's a really strong need here for some way for young parents to come back to their education to get that year 12 qualification.
Yeah.
Because as we know, when you're up against, like when you're competing against your peers who have year 12 for a place at TAFE or for a job, a regular job, a full-time position or an apprenticeship or a traineeship, you can pretty much guarantee that whoever's making the decision about that is going to be looking at the person who has year 12 because that person should have a level of literacy and numeracy that will mean that they'll be able to comprehend, understand, write, converse with, communicate with people. So having those basic kind of skills is really important for a young person. But for a young parent, if they have to leave school and they don't have a support network there that will be able to look after their child when they return back to school, then we've got to create something that means they can bring baby with them.
Yes.
And they can still go back to school. And so that's what we have. We have this great model where they bring baby with them into the room and there's a whole group of people there that look after them and help them with whatever's happened overnight.
Yes.
Often, babies wake up through the middle of the night or they've been unwell or they just haven't slept. The parent or the baby haven't slept very well. So our early parenting supporter is really critical in this process because they can really help the young parent with settling baby, feeding, changing, sleeping, etc.
Yes.
And that's kind of a nice comfort too, to know that you've got that person there to support you when you come into school.
Yes, definitely. And so your role in it all is like managing the, is it a team of stakeholders? Is there a name for them?
So it's really a different kind of role that I have. So I've been creating the model, so the model of the program and how it runs. So that means looking at the way that the program is structured, where it's situated, who the staff are in it. So what sort of qualifications and experience do they need to bring in order to work best with young parents? It also means looking at the content of what they're learning and having every student has an individual learning plan. but it's making sure that what's in that individual learning plan is meaningful to them, because they're a different student now. So their needs are different, their responsibilities are different, and often they're thinking more about their future plans because they've got this other person now that they're responsible for. So that changes how they feel about their life goals.
Definitely. So it's a bit more of an equitable approach for the intersectional need of the young parent, because there are so many different intersections, right, that is identified for young parents, which is fantastic and brilliant that you're able to bring that that space and create that space for them.
Yeah.
So you're really passionate, clearly very passionate about providing an amazing service. Can you tell us what sparked that passion?
As I said earlier, I think part of it is about my history of developing programs for young people generally. So I've been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
And I've always been developing something in response to a gap. So if you look at the structure of the links between education, employment, the labour market, business, community services, and that kind of civic sense.
Yes.
There aren't always the straight links or connections between them, and because we have so many changes of government, they change how those things work.
Yes.
So the work that I've always done has been about where is there the gaps so that young people can transition smoothly through school and then on to further education, training or employment. That's been my bread and butter for all of these years. So I've created lots of different ways for young people to access various aspects of that transition process. And so one of them was working with the parents of young people and really raising the profile of the importance of parents.
Yes.
The parents have a significant place in the decision-making that young people have. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things we found when we researched this way back when I was in this role, I worked with the Brotherhood of St Lawrence for 8 years and really closely with their research team. And we found that, not surprisingly really, young people, their first point of call for conversations, advice, was their parents.
Yes.
So their parents had to be skilled up and knowledgeable about what they were telling them then in response to those questions. And we knew that they weren't always giving them the right information because their experience of being in the workforce...
Different era.
Totally different. So generational differences have a really big part to play in this. And so being involved with parents and teaching parents, I was actually teaching parents how to facilitate these workshops. So I travelled across the country for years doing it. And I think I really, and I'm a parent myself, and excitingly, I just became grandparent of number 2 on
congratulations.
Monday. My second grandson, which is pretty exciting. He's beautiful. So I really think I've developed a really strong role, I suppose, in supporting parents generally. I think it's hard for parents of all ages. But imagine being 15, 16, 17, 18, not having necessarily good support structure around you, having a child and then thinking about what are my options now.
Yeah, that kind of leads into like our next question around like the stigma associated with being a young parent. What do you think some of the positive effects of destigmatizing would be, like the effects of that?
Well, the very obvious first effect is that if we don't have stigmatisation of young parents, then we've created then an inclusive world. And at the moment, we don't have that. Mm-hmm. But the YPEP is a very inclusive place and it's designed to be that way deliberately because we do want to ensure that when young parents come in to the program, they feel secure, safe unjudged, supported, listened to, and we also want to showcase to everybody else that if you do this and you do create inclusive environments, then the results that you have for those people is significant. And so for the young people, it means that they feel they can come along to a program like this because there isn't that level of judgment. And if they can be out in the local community or anywhere else in society and they're getting that same level of encouragement, empathy, support that they need, then they'll be far more willing to engage with all the opportunities that are there for them.
Yeah. And maybe even like seek support.
And seek it out, definitely.
Yeah, they do have a lot to contend with, like with social pressures and, you know, that loss of sense of identity and that connection. So, yeah, it's really awesome that that space is there where they can make connections and they do feel valued and they have that opportunity to reach their potential.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got to do that. As a society, we have to do this.
Yeah.
We really do. Because someone is not fitting necessarily the idea of what is ideal, it doesn't mean that there isn't another way of doing this. And we've got some fantastic success stories about the young parents who've come to our program and their lives have changed as a result of that, and their lives of their baby has changed and all their future children.
Ripple effect.
Yeah, definitely.
And we will touch on that a little bit later. I think talking about the program now specifically, how important is flexibility within the program for young parents in terms of like attending, coming and going when they need to and things like that?
It's critical. They have to have that we have to be adaptable to whatever might be happening for them at that point in time. So the start and the finish times, they are sort of defined, but we do have enormous flexibility with them. So we usually start around 9:30 and we usually finish around 2:30, and it is 4 days per week. When they're studying Year 12, it's a VCAL program which has enormous flexibility in it. So we can actually create a curriculum that is of interest to them individually as well. And that means that the flexibility with the study can extend to studying in the classroom, and we can bring in elements of studying away from the classroom if they need to, if their baby's unwell, for example, but they're still okay. While baby's asleep, they can still do some work at home. And we have really good systems where they can link into us throughout the day via online.
Yeah.
So it is really important that we accept that this is not your average kind of, you know, turn up, be there at 8:45 and leave at 3:15 and travel between classrooms. This doesn't operate in that way. This operates in the one space, and it's big, and it has all the equipment there to support them with their children. So we have high chairs, porta cots, multiples of everything, full kitchen so we can prepare food. We have, you know, sterilisers. We have everything to support them and their baby. We have lots of space to put prams and all the other equipment that they come with. And so when they come in, it kind of has a really nice sort of, I guess like a family feel to it.
Yes.
Because we've got a nice big dining table in the middle of the room with chairs that we can all sit around, and not me, but the other people who are there, sit around. Sometimes I do, eat lunch there. Or sit down, have coffee, morning tea. There's all different sort of workstations that are just tables and chairs. They're not student-style desks.
Yes.
It's set up with all the technology that they need. It's whiteboards, all the usual kinds of teaching tools, but it has, you know, breastfeeding chairs and we've been working on developing this for all of this time. So we've certainly tweaked the things that we know they really need. Mm-hmm. And that means that what we have is in response to what they've been telling us.
Cool. And I'm sure the program has incidental social connections happening all the time, but is there an aspect of the program itself that is social?
It's very social anyway.
Yeah.
Because all those students are with people who are in the same situation that they are. Mm. So there are some great friendships that develop between the students because they're all parents. And it's interesting because one of the things that we trialled a couple of years back was a play group for young parents, because what they were telling us is that being a young parent and going into a play group with someone who's in, say, their mid to late 20s and older, it's really difficult to be with another group of parents who don't have the same, they're not facing the same sorts of things that you are facing as a young parent each day. So when you're in your right tribe with people who get what's happening for you, you identify with each other, you support each other. These students, they'll look after each other's babies. They celebrate all of the milestones. They celebrate the joys. They talk to each other. They listen to each other. So it's a very social group. We also have closed Facebook groups for each site. Mm-hmm. So we can share information with all the students that are at that particular site, but they can sort of share information with each other there also.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so important to sort of have that space for young mums where they can connect. And I know that running the Mum to Mum program, there was a lot of anecdotal evidence of, young mums going into the play groups with various age range and feeling out of place, which is a shame. So having that space where it's specific to an age group that they're all in the same boat, they can all support each other. It's just really great to hear. Mm. Is there a certain criteria that young parents must meet to access the YPEP?
Only that they're either pregnant or parenting. So we have many parents who come to us when they're pregnant. It's great because they get time with other young parents who've had their babies, and so they learn a lot about what happened for those people, and they're supported by those people. That's the criteria, is pregnant or parenting and up to age 20.
Okay, awesome. And there is recently the Young Mothers Transition Program that has begun or is about to?
Yes, we did all the sort of groundwork, the foundational preparation for that.
Yes.
They started in March. So we've got two great wellbeing and transition coaches, Jen Orlandi and Kirsty Leach.
Yes.
And they're both working on site at the YPEP every day. So they're at either Hallam or Narre Warren, mm-hmm. and they'll be at Cranbourne when that starts later this year at Cranbourne Secondary College.
That's exciting.
So the YPEP is starting there this year, which is fantastic, in their newly refurbished space in the middle of the college grounds. Great work they've been doing there. And so Jen and Kirsty are the first point of contact for a young parent, because they really help them to work out what is it that they want to do. Do they need to go back to education? Because some young parents might already have Year 12, but just really need help with mapping out what they do now they've got Year 12.
Yes.
And what are the best sort of career options and how do they access them? They might need help with the job preparation, job planning, interview preparation.
Employment stuff.
Yes, so they do that sort of work with them. They also then support them when they're employed. So they are working with the employer to make sure that the employer has good knowledge and skills about managing and supporting a young parent.
I love that.
I think that's really critical to do that.
Yes.
Because employers, for the most part, they want to do this well. It's better for them and their business if they get it right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if we can support them to do that, that makes it better for them. Often it's, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, yeah.
And so if we can help them with understanding who they've got in their workplace and how they can support them better and how they can get the best out of having this person there, then that's a good thing for everybody.
It's nice to have that follow through to ensure success in whatever pathway
that's right.
a young person chooses to go.
And sustainable employment for that young parent, but also for the employer.
Yeah.
So yes, Jen and Kirsty are the first point of call, and we have, their contact details. So it's basically just a phone call from a young parent or a pregnant young person.
Yes.
Or if it's a service that has met with someone who wants to go back to education or wants to get a job, then we've got a referral form that we can send through.
That's awesome. And is there an age criteria for that program?
That is up to age 22.
Awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how parents can get involved in the YPEP? Yeah.
So they can contact either Jen or Kirsty or me, and we can have a chat with them about what their circumstances are and what they're looking to do, and then we can help them to map out what will be the best next steps for them. So that means they can be supported by Jen or Kirsty if they want to come in and just have a visit and see what it looks like and meet some of the other young parents, talk to the teachers, get a bit of an idea about what it would be like for them to be there and whether this is a good fit for them. So we help them to do that.
Yeah. This is kind of jumping back a little bit to what you were talking about before with the the structure of the class, daytime classes. What does the terms look like in the year?
School
Enrollment?
terms.
Just normal school terms?
Normal school terms, yeah.
Right.
And in holiday times, we sometimes set up things where it might be a play group or an event that's on. Often you guys have really good free public events.
Yes.
So we share those on our Facebook groups, those closed groups. And sometimes the young parents will just work out with each other. They'll just say, do you want to go to this together, and we'll just meet and we'll get on the bus together or whatever. So, yeah, that's how we usually keep that contact and let them know when those things are on as well. But yes, it is just school terms, normal school term.
How do the young parents find out about the program? Did we touch on this yet or not?
No. A lot of it is word of mouth. So it can just be through someone they know. We have had articles in the local papers. We have our website. We've got social media pages. Schools, all the services that might come into contact with a young parent, so GPs, the hospitals, the maternal child health nurses, Monash Health, Healthy Babies, Healthy Mums programs. There's a whole range of places that young parents would come into contact with. So I think we've hopefully got
spread the word
a
wide
profile with all of them, and then they can make contact.
There's probably many, but what are some of the success stories that come out of, young parents accessing YPEP? What are some of the success stories that you've been able to witness or hear about?
So in the 6 years we've been running it, we've had some great success stories. And every young person who comes into the program is well supported when they transition out of the program. So they'll finish, complete, graduate, and then they go on to usually onto other education, or often a traineeship is a really good option because it means that they can continue to get a certificate level qualification in their area of interest, but they get paid work at the same time. So that's actually a really good option. I've got a couple of stories here that I can read to you because I think I'll tell the story from the perspective of the young parent, and they've shared them with us and they're happy to tell others about their story.
Yeah.
One of them is a young lady who's in the video that we've got on YouTube.
Yes.
So you can
I've
put
seen
that link in this podcast.
We'll definitely link it below, yes.
Yes, so put that link in, then whoever is interested can click on that, because then you'll see Nivea in there talking about her story of coming to the YPEP. But she basically told us that, this was her story in her words, that she's 18 and she has a 9-month-old son named Hezekiah. She's half Samoan and half Maori, and she was born and raised in Wellington, New Zealand, and then moved to Melbourne in 2015. She started high school at Fountain Gate, completed year 8 to 10, then moved to Hallam Senior in 2019 to complete year 11 and 12 in VCAL. Halfway through year 12, she had her son, and she describes herself then as feeling sort of anxious because she'd already had a setback with her schooling and she thought that was it. And then the school reached out and told her about the YPEP, and they wanted to let her know that could potentially be an option for her. So this is at Hallam.
Yes.
She said YPEP has not only helped me with completing year 12, it was my safe place. There was no judgment, no bad feeling. It's a happy place. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I love that, yes.
I love that too. It was a place for me to learn things from breastfeeding to safe sleeping, introducing different textured food and making new mum friends. My mind was at ease knowing my son was being looked after while I was completing my schoolwork and we were both under the same roof. And YPEP's given me the confidence and the reassurance I needed to help nurture my son and prepare me to be a young mum.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's one good story. She also then went on to train and be a facilitator of the Mother Goose program, which is a lullaby songs and singing with babies, so parents with their babies, to build that early attachment that needs to occur and really building the connection between parent and baby. So she's a facilitator of that now as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Rosie is another lovely success story too, of coming here from Thailand in 2009 and had to attend language school to learn English for 6 months, then transferred on to primary school where she really excelled. Halfway through year 10, she fell pregnant. When her son was 2 months old, she decided to start searching for a school to go back and get year 12. She lived on the other side of the city. She contacted me and she ended up moving from the northern suburbs to Springvale so she could come to the program. Yep. She enrolled at Hallam, and she had some hesitations about putting her son in childcare because we also have the child in the room until they start walking or they turn 12 months old, because at that point in time they need other supports. So the child is always the responsibility of the parent. It's not a childcare place.
Yes.
And so once they get to an age where they need that, then they're better suited to be in a place that can provide them with that. So we helped her to find, we've got a great relationship with many of the local childcare services, but also family, daycare and other options. There are other options.
Yep.
So we worked with her on that, and she was really comfortable then about putting her son in that care. And within that 1 year that she enrolled, so that was also the year of lockdown, she completed all the requirements to get her year 12 certificate. And along with Nivea, she graduated with, they both had their children on their hip as they took to the stage to accept their certificate. So you can imagine the crowd went wild.
Yes.
Cheering for both of them so loudly. There were other students there too. It was a very emotional, joyful, happy time. She keeps in contact with us, and she's gone on to get her certificate in real estate, which she always wanted to do. So she is a really gutsy, determined woman, is Rosie. And, she's overcome some significant barriers to get year 12, get this qualification and raise her son at the same time. So I admire all these parents who come into this program. Their resilience is incredible. It's very inspiring.
And even such a small sample of some of the stories, I'm sure there are many.
Oh, there's many.
Yeah, is a testament to the success of the program and its importance.
Yes, definitely.
So rewarding too. It would be rewarding as a facilitator to witness that growth, and you probably have young parents come back and explain where they were, and just having that positive impact on the trajectory of their future is it's wonderful.
It is, absolutely.
Well, that's such a positive note to end this episode on, I think. Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you to Nivea and Rosie for sharing their stories with us. Really appreciate it, and all the amazing work you're doing for young parents. Anyone in the City of Casey area that is interested in getting connected with YPEP, we'll be sure to link the website below and link to the YouTube video as well for more details. Until next time, have a good day and stay safe.